Hey everyone, today for another vlog and change of outfit because it's a new white master, like 4 months. So yeah, new color, new focus. Purple was done, and I talked about that, the last video and what that, and in the first video what that meant for me. And for these 4 months, the color is white. So white evokes to me a new start, starting from scratch, minimizing purity, that kind of stuff. So, starting from scratch, like tabula rasa, right? Like that kind of thing. And so, what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes is the information diet or attention diet. So, not really the same things, but they're very much related, right? So, yeah, I'm going to explain a bit more about why that's come up to me and why it's important. So the next 4 months, I'm not gonna vlog as much. I think I'm just gonna vlog like once a week type of thing. Maybe twice a week if I feel like it, but I'm aiming for once a week. And every day I plan to meditate for a medium amount of time. Like it's not super long for most people who meditate a lot. Um, I've streamed twice already, so 25 minutes each, and I plan to increase by 1 minute each week. So because there are 4 months in this period, that's gonna be like 16 minutes plus at the end, so it's gonna be like 41-minute sessions at the end. So quite difficult, right? But yeah, and I might play around with different meditation techniques. I don't know, but and I'm just doing the simplest method, which is not do anything in particular. I just pay attention to what's going on, have good posture, and that's it. Just nothing in particular, just observing. And yeah, that's about everything I have to say about this next 4 months. So, on to the actual topic of this vlog, which is the attention diet. So, it come to my attention, attention. It through a video by I might link it. It was a clip from one of the Jonathan Blow streams. So he's a game designer and programmer. He's really good at programming as well. Made indie games such as Braid, very famous puzzle game, and The Witness. Both are puzzle games. Very, very special, incredibly thought-provoking puzzle games, and really deep games. He's a great guy. He has really interesting ideas, and I highly recommend people who are interested in video games, game design, to listen to his talk. It was really interesting. So the video was about how basically people have a fucking awful information diet, and that really resonated with me because like over the last month I've really been drifting and sort of letting myself go have and my information diet has been incredibly poor honestly for the last actually I don't know before Twitter I think it was okay-ish, but with Twitter it's very much a bad thing. And yeah, it just I don't know why, but I thought of myself as, I don't really suffer from poor information diet. I can focus if I want to. That's very true. I can focus if I want to, but here's the thing, right? If you're able to be intelligent, but you never access that, then it doesn't really matter, right? Likewise, if you're able to focus, but you never access that and you never practice it, then that doesn't matter. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if you have strong muscles, but you never use them. So, like, yeah, and the thing about attention span and ability to focus, of course, that they deteriorate, just like many things, if you don't use them. So, and I was very much on a downward trend, so I wanted to keep that in check and to reset. And the reason why is that what I've experienced is that low attention span and struggle to focus is very much linked with poor mental health, actually. And I think the reason why is, I don't know, there are probably many reasons why, but one of the reasons that attracts me is that getting out of a bad mental state requires doing things that are not easy often. And those things are not easy. They probably require focus and a certain amount of commitment. And when you're in that, that super like brain foggy, super unfocused, super uncommitted mental state, then you cannot get into that. So um, I think this low attention span and low ability to focus is really keeping people in poor mental states, in my opinion. And there are probably other reasons why, because the whole thing about browsing feeds is that you're incredibly disembodied, right? And you're not doing anything difficult with your mind and um, body, which, again, make them atrophy over time. There are probably many reasons why a low attention span is related. It might not cause poor mental health, but it's very much correlated with, in my opinion. So I think the reason why I didn't think of myself as having low attention span is because I didn't understand up until now how attention span and ability to focus are dependent on the activity actually. They're not like uniform throughout all activities that you engage in. And the reason why, my best explanation was that attention span ability to focus is literally defined by, well, at least it's largely bottlenecked or defined, I guess. It's largely in part about your ability to tolerate boredom. So, boredom is very discomfortable feeling, right? So that's, in my opinion, that's what attention span is. And your ability to tolerate boredom is not equal for any given task for many reasons. For one, you don't take every task seriously as one another, right? And as a result, you don't have as much tolerance for discomfort. Like, as a very simple example, if you're like, if your life depends on like solving a problem, for example, that's really just a concrete, that's just a thought experiment, right? If your life depended on solving a problem and you had to sit down and, have a sheet of paper and solve a problem, you would take it incredibly seriously and you'd fucking be so focused, like probably more focused than at any point of your life. Whereas if you're just sitting in a room and you have all the time in the world and there's no consequence for you doing poorly at something, then you won't take it seriously, right? And as a result, you might probably go turn to the internet and drift off to distractions. Depending on how seriously you take a task, and it's also dependent on how much you enjoy it, right? So if you don't enjoy something, you are gonna have less of a tolerance for discomfort, as a result, less of a tolerance for boredom. And another reason, probably many other reasons, but one reason I can see is that it depends on your mental state and emotional state, and those are not um, those are not constants throughout your life and throughout your activities. If you feel good, then you're gonna have a much higher tolerance for boredom, and if you feel really shitty, like you probably are not gonna have a lot of tolerance for discomfort in general. So yeah, that was about attention span and the fact that it's not just about you know I was good at focusing during school, and that was probably because there was like a structure that had created some pressure on me. And as a result, the example of having your life on the line for solving a problem, that's probably something similar. Where it's not like I was gonna die, of course, but like there was some pressure for me to focus, and as a result, I was much better focusing than now that I am, just at home and there is no pressure on me. Yeah, attention span very much depends on the task and the context and all of that. It's not constant. It's really a big mistake to think of it as being constant. Your ability to focus. Maybe I should just talk about the ability to focus. Like I don't know. Like attention span is kind of a different thing, but to me they are both important. So whatever. So what have I done in regards to that? The main thing is that in general I always try to remove like the biggest, the most obvious problems first. Right? So for me, the most obvious problems are endless feeds. Endless feeds such as Twitter and YouTube. I use Firefox add-ons, so add-ons for my browser, which is Firefox, to remove features of the sites I use and to block some sites. So there's like two types of things I use. I use a site blocker, so my specific one is a leech blocker for Firefox. I think it also exists for Chrome, but I don't know. My second type of tool is a site-specific tool that remove certain buttons. So there are add-ons such as Unhook for YouTube, which allows you to remove like recommendations on the sidebar and the home page and that kind of thing. It also exists for Twitch and for Twitter, and I've used all of these three site-specific sites for removing the endless feeds. So for Twitter, there is no button for that, but I've just blocked the home feed with using Leech Block. It allows you to block specific URLs and stuff, and it's really convenient. And there's also a lot of good features as well, such as being able to delay access to a site. So if you want to add friction, so you want to use a site less, but you don't want to block it, then you can add a delay, or you can set it so that you can only access it through an override. So an override is you having to type a password, and that password can be randomly generated each time, and it's written what you have to type. Right? So it's like adding more friction, and the override only lasts a certain period of time. So, for example, the override forces you to write 64 characters written on the screen, which takes some time already, and then you can only use the site for 20 minutes. That could be useful, for example, if you don't want to block a site completely, but you want to make a site less accessible, something you use less. That's really useful. And so endless feeds are incredibly problematic for many reasons. The first one I can see is that they're unbounded by the definition of being endless, but so you can spend 4 hours literally like browsing an endless feed or and going through the chain of YouTube video recommendations and stuff. And that's incredibly bad, right? Because it's you did not consent to that. You did not consent to spending that much time on YouTube. It's incredibly toxic. Those similar sites they profit from you being so much on their sites. So that's really really awful for personal life. And the second thing is that endless feeds, because of their nature, they contain disconnected pieces of information. So you might watch one video on one topic and another video which is just fluff, right? Just funny stuff and all that. And even if the only things you watch are informative videos, the fact is that YouTube's pressure causes them to be shorter, first of all. And because they're so disconnected, what you have is you have lots of data points. You don't have any ways to connect them. You're not thinking by yourself, and you're not because you're just again browsing, and you're not using those data points like like be honest with yourself, right? Like if you're watching like 12 videos about different topics, are you ever gonna use that knowledge, right? Like, is that ever gonna be relevant to you, or are you just distracting yourself and giving yourself an excuse to not feel bad about how you're using your time? So like, that's up to you to make the call, right? So, yeah, so very much working on my attention there. I'm not speaking from a spot or like pure, pure like uh, super clean attention diet and the way I use my time, but it's a work in progress, and I intend to make an effort over the next 12 months on that. And it's already made a huge difference for me to remove endless feeds. That's really a big problem. Like focusing more on long form content, and that really makes a really positive difference. Overall, trying to get more in touch with my body, but meditation and slowing down and through yoga practice. I've taken up yoga practice. I'm super stiff in my legs, so it's so hard to do like even the beginner poses. Like yeah, the stiffness in my hamstrings is really annoying, but it's gonna get better over time, of course. Because, the reason why they're so tight is because of sitting, so it's can definitely be done. And besides that, I've also been curious about two things in particular. They're kind of related, and they're very much related to the topic of today. First one is boredom, and the second one is technology. With boredom, there's a question I can't really answer actually, so I'm gonna try and answer it over the next 4 months, which is, what does boredom actually feel like? Like when I'm experiencing boredom, like what is actually going on? What is the discomfort? Is that discomfort in my body, or is it just me reacting to a thought and obeying it without being conscious about it? What is going on with boredom? And the second thing about technology is that my question is for myself: what is the endpoint of technology? Like I can see many things that are negative about technology, like causing people low attention low attention span rather, and lose the ability to focus, but also as well with porn addiction, right? And website addiction in general, browsing. Something I've experienced porn addiction, and I'm also trying to work on that. And yeah, like what is the endpoint of technology? Like I don't know if I've already talked about that in another vlog, but for me, technology and technological progress is it's not caused by human beings. Like, on a material level, you need a human being to create technological progress, right? But on a more large scale picture, human beings are not responsible for it. It's I think it's the result. They're not directly and consciously responsible for it. I think it's the result of unconscious forces such as humans' drive for safety and survival, and power and comfort. Human beings prioritizing those things and technology arising from that. So we are not in control of the technological progress. Is what I'm trying to say. So when I say what is the endpoint of technology, I don't mean that in a sense of intent, right? I don't think human beings have the intent of having technological progress. I think this is not within our control. But it just makes me want to ask, what is the endpoint of technology? Like, where's this thing going? Like, because clearly, there are many ways in which human quality of life hasn't improved from technology, has in fact worsened. There are so many ways in which it has improved, of course. But, it's easier for me to see the bad than the good. But it is good to acknowledge the good, right? So, and that just makes me want to ask, what is the endpoint of technology? That's something I would like to think about for myself. That's because I think when I can see this, there's much like an accelerating form of it, an accelerating component of technology, but like watching it so fucking quickly nowadays, and yeah, so it's crazy. But at the same time, there's also a part of me that thinks, like, yes, technology goes quickly, but at the same time, because it is running into natural limits and natural, like, as intellectuals would say, we are running into the boundary conditions of our planet, right? So perhaps what we think of as exponential growth is simply the first part of a sigmoid curve. So sigmoid curve is like it's like S-shaped curve, which fuck, I always have to reverse because the camera. Maybe I can use a button for that. Then a sigmoid curve is like something that goes like this, and then it's like an S curve, but like like horizontal instead of and so a sigmoid curve has an ascent which is really fast, and then it reaches like an inflection point when it starts running into diminishing returns. So from what I know, sigmoid curves arise when you have exponential growth, but you have finite resources at hand, and so the second half is when you're running into like the diminishing returns arising from the finite resources. That's what I understand as how sigmoid curves arise in nature. But sigmoid function is very simple. It arises in real life. I'm not too sure about that. So yeah, had a lot of things to say. That was a 20-minute video. Might be the first time I make such a long video. But I had a lot to say about the intention that I hope if you're watching this, I hope you can take it seriously because I think it's really important for your well-being. Um, it's not just about being able to work and focus. I think that's something we really drive home. Is that it's also about well-being. Uh, Attention span is also about well-being, and I think that's the main reason why you should care about that. Really, browsing things on the internet is really detrimental for your well-being and happiness, and yeah. So yeah, I wanted to say something about happiness, but whatever. Like for your well-being, right? Let's not talk about happiness for now. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Next time. I'll see you next time.